Wassail, this is Twisting Ways on YouTube. I'm going to be reading fairy tales to you guys also. And there's no visual, so just sit back and relax and enjoy today the fairy tale of Tam Lin. Fair Janet was the daughter of a lowland earl who lived in a grey castle beside green meadows. One day, tired of sewing in her bower, and tired of playing long games of chess with the ladies of her father's house, she put on a green kirtle, braided her yellow hair, and set off alone to explore the leafy woods of Carterhaugh. She wandered in the sunlight through quiet grassy glades, full of green shade, where the wild briar roses grew abundant, and white-stemmed bluebells made a carpet for her feet. She stretched out her hand and plucked a pale rose to put at her waist, and no sooner was that flower pulled from the thorn than a young man suddenly stepped onto the path before her. "How dare you pluck the roses of Carterhaugh, and wander here without my leave?" he asked Janet. "I meant no harm," she answered him. "I am set to guard these woods, and see that no one disturbs their peace," said the young man. He smiled slowly, as one who has not smiled for a long time, and pulled a red rose that had grown beside her white one. "Yet I would willingly give all the roses of Carterhaugh to one so lovely as yourself," he said. "Who are you, soft-spoken one?" asked Janet, taking his rose. "I am Tam Lin," the young man replied. "I have heard of you. You are an elfin knight," cried Janet, and she cast away the flower in fear. "There is no cause for fear, fair Janet," said Tam Lin, "for though men call me an elfin knight, I was born a mortal child just as you were yourself." Then, as Janet listened in wonder, he told her all of his story. "My father and mother died when I was but a baby," he said, "and my grandfather, the heir of Roxburgh, took me to live with him. One day when we were hunting in these very woods, a cold, queer wind came from the north and blew through every leaf. I felt a heavy sleep descend upon me, and a lagging far behind my companions. At last I fell from my horse, and when I woke, I found myself in the fairyland, for the elf queen had come and stolen me away as I slept." Here Tam Lin paused as he thought of that green, enchanted land. "Ever since then," he continued, "I have been bound fast by the spell the elf queen put on me. In the daytime I guard the woods of Carterhaugh, but at night I return to the fairy land. Oh, Janet, there is a great longing upon me to return to the mortal life I left. I wish with all my heart that I could be rid of this enchantment." He spoke with such great sorrow that Janet cried out, "And is there no way this can be achieved?" Then Tam Lin caught her in his hands and said, "Tonight is Halloween, Janet, and on that night of all nights there is a chance to win me back to mortal life. For on Halloween the fairy folk ride abroad, and I ride with them." "Tell me what I might do to help you," said Janet, "for I would win you back with all my heart." "When midnight comes," Tam Lin told her, "you must go to the crossroads, and there await the fairy host as it comes riding by. As the first company approaches, stay still and let them pass. And as the second company approaches, let them pass as well. I shall be among the third company, riding a milk-white steed and wearing a gold circlet on my brow. Then run to me, Janet, and pull me from my horse, and throw your arms around me. And no matter what spells they cast upon me, hold me fast and do not let me go. That way will you win me back to earth." A little after 12 that night, Janet hastened to the crossroads and waited in the shadow of the thorn hedge. The ditches gleamed in the moonlight, the thorn bushes cast strange shapes upon the ground, and the trees rustled their branches eerily at her. And faintly on the wind she heard the sound of bridles ringing, and knew the fairy horses were abroad. Shivering a little, she drew her cloak about her, and peered along the road. First she saw the gleam of silver harness, then the white blaze on the forehead of the horse that came riding first, and soon all the fairy host came into sight, their pale, pointed faces upturned to the moonlight. Their curious elven locks swept back behind them as they rode. As the first company passed her, with the elf queen herself mounted upon a black steed, she stayed quite still and let them go, nor did she move when the second company came by. And among the third company she saw the milk-white horse that bore Tam Lin, and the glitter of the gold circlet upon his brow, and running from the shadow of the thorn hedge, she seized his bridle and pulled him to the ground, clasping him in her arms. At once an eldritch cry rose up, "Tam Lin is away!" and the elf queen's black horse reared up as she suddenly pulled him to a halt. She turned and cast her beautiful, inhuman eyes towards Janet and Tam Lin, and as Janet clasped him in her arms, the elf queen's spells fell upon Tam Lin, and dwindled and shrank in Janet's grasp, and became a little scaly lizard, which she clutched to her heart. Then she felt a slithering through her fingers, and the lizard became a cold, slippery snake, which she gripped tight as it coiled around her neck. All at once a fiery pain ran through her hands, and the cold snake turned into a red-hot block of iron. Tears of pain ran down Janet's cheeks, and still she held Tam Lin fast, and would not let him go. Then at last the elf queen knew that she had lost Tam Lin because of the steadfast love of a mortal woman, and she shaped him in Janet's arms in his own form, a mother-naked man. And Janet cast her green mantle over him in triumph, and as the fairy host drew rein once more, and a slim green hand came forth to lead away the milk-white steed Tam Lin had ridden, they heard the voice of the elf queen raised in bitter lament. "The bonniest knight in all my company is lost to the world of mortals. Farewell, Tam Lin. Had I but known that an earthly woman would win you with her love, I would have taken out your heart of flesh and put in a heart of stone. And had I known that fair Janet was coming to Carterhaugh, I would have taken out your 2 grey eyes and put in 2 of wood." As she spoke, a faint dawn light came to the earth, and with a weird cry the fairy riders spurred on their horses and vanished with the night. And as the sound of their bridle bells died far away, Tam Lin caught hold of one of Janet's paw-bristled hands, and together they returned to the grey castle where her father lived.